The night was heavy with rain, the kind that washed the city streets clean yet left behind a tension in the air. Somewhere down an alleyway, footsteps echoed fast, desperate, and uneven. A man in a torn suit stumbled into the shadows, clutching his ribs, his breath ragged. He was not just anyone. He was David Langston, a billionaire CEO known for building an empire that stretched across continents. But in that moment, all the power and prestige in the world couldn't save him from the gangsters chasing him through the night. On the other side of town, inside a small, dimly lit diner that stayed open later than it should, a young black waitress named Alicia was finishing her shift. She was exhausted, her feet aching from hours of serving coffee to tired travelers and late-night wanderers. Yet, she carried her work with grace. Alicia was no stranger to hardship. She was the kind of woman who had faced life's storms head-on, caring for her younger brother after their parents died, working 2 jobs to keep food on the table, and still daring to dream of owning her own hotel one day, even if that dream felt impossible. Fate brought them together that night. The door to the diner burst open. David, soaking wet and bruised, stumbled inside. His eyes darted around like a hunted animal. Alicia froze, instinctively sensing something was wrong. Moments later, shadows moved outside, men with sharp eyes scanning the street. Without thinking, Alicia stepped forward. "Sir, this way," she whispered urgently. Before David could question her, she pulled him behind the counter, opening the small back storage room where extra supplies were kept. She hid him there, covering him with an old blanket just as the diner door swung open again. 3 men entered. Gangsters. Their presence filled the diner with menace. They asked questions in low, threatening voices. Had she seen a man come in? Was anyone hiding? Alicia's heart pounded, but she stood tall, her apron stained with coffee, her voice steady. "No one's been here except me," she said, her eyes unwavering. They searched, muttering curses under their breath, before finally leaving. Alicia exhaled in relief, her hands trembling only after the danger had passed. When she returned to the storage room, David was slumped against the wall, his head tilted. He had lost consciousness. Alicia knelt beside him, torn between fear and compassion. He was a stranger, yet something inside her couldn't abandon him. She tended to his wounds with the diner's first aid kit, watching him with curiosity. Who was this man? Why was he being hunted? Hours passed before David stirred awake. His first sight was Alicia's tired but kind eyes. He whispered his name, though he didn't reveal who he truly was. For the next day, she let him stay hidden, bringing him food, guarding him from the outside world. She asked nothing in return. But David was not just recovering from physical wounds. He was shaken by betrayal. The gangsters chasing him weren't random criminals. They had been hired by someone within his own company, someone who wanted him out of the way. In his empire of glass towers and boardrooms, he had always thought himself untouchable. But here, in the quiet protection of a stranger's kindness, he realized how fragile power truly was. Over the next days, a bond formed between them. Alicia, despite her struggles, never once complained. She shared her story, her dreams of one day owning a hotel where people could feel safe, valued, and cared for. David listened, humbled. No one in his world had spoken with such raw honesty in years. Yet challenges loomed. The gangsters hadn't given up. One evening, they returned, angrier, more determined. This time, they were sure David had come through the diner. Alicia faced the terrifying choice, expose him or risk everything. With courage that belied her trembling hands, she confronted them again. She stood in the doorway, blocking their path, her voice steady as steel. "You won't find anyone here. And if you keep harassing me, you'll regret it," she said, her eyes blazing with defiance. Her strength caught them off guard. For a moment, they hesitated, then retreated once more into the shadows. David knew then that her bravery had saved his life twice. And something shifted inside him. He wasn't just grateful, he was inspired. This young woman, who had so little, gave everything without hesitation. When it was finally safe for David to leave, he promised Alicia that he would return. She smiled faintly, assuming it was just words. Men like him, whoever he truly was, never came back for women like her. But weeks later, the diner was filled with whispers. A convoy of black cars pulled up outside. Out stepped David Langston, not a bruised fugitive, but a billionaire CEO, his presence commanding and undeniable. The staff and customers watched in stunned silence as he walked straight to Alicia. "I told you I'd be back," he said softly. Then, before everyone, he handed her a set of keys and documents. "I owe you my life. You dreamed of a hotel, so I bought you one. It's yours now." Alicia was speechless. Tears welled in her eyes. For years, she had worked until her hands were raw, thinking dreams like hers were reserved for the wealthy and the lucky. But here was proof that kindness, courage, and faith could change everything. It wasn't just a gift, it was a partnership. David told her he wanted her to run it, to bring her vision of hospitality to life. Together, they transformed the hotel into more than just a business. It became a sanctuary, a symbol of resilience and hope. Employees were treated like family, guests left inspired, and the community found new opportunities through it. But the greatest transformation was in David himself. The man who once measured life by profit margins now understood that true wealth was found in people, their stories, their struggles, their dreams. And Alicia, the waitress who once hid a stranger in her diner, had become the heart of his world. The story spread across the city, then the world. Not just of a billionaire and a waitress, but of kindness meeting gratitude, of courage meeting destiny. And so, as you listen to this story, remember this: no act of kindness is ever wasted. You never know whose life you might change, or who might change yours. If you felt touched by this story, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Be Kind Always for more powerful stories that remind us of the strength of compassion, resilience, and hope.